I am making a yubel deck profile since I finally managed to get everything he's needing, with an exception to one card, but I don't think it's actually needed. So I figured I'd go ahead and make the deck profile. And overall, I really like how it works. I just need to get 2 or 3 Unchained cards, and I can build the Unchained version of the deck. But for now, I actually really enjoy how it's been playing, although my friends haven't. So I figured I'd go ahead and make the video. So starting off with the monsters, I play the 1 or 3 copies of Samsara D. Lotus. This is the main starter of the deck, as it has the effect to contribute a special on a yubel monster from your deck. And during your opponent's turn, when a monster effect is activated while you control this card, or while you control a yubel monster, you contribute this card, negate the activation, and you don't negate the activation. Bruh. When a monster effect is activated while you control a yubel monster, tribute it so that the activated effect becomes destroy 1 yubel monster on the field. And then during the end phase, if you control a yubel monster, let's see. During the end phase, if you control yubel and this card is in your graveyard, you can add it to your hand or special summon it. And you can only use each effect of Samsara D. Lotus once per turn. And then I also play 2 copies of Dark Beckoning Beast. This is just so that you can get into your opening of Spirit Gates, which makes summoning yubel a whole lot easier. Then I play 3 copies of Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel, because I always forget its effects, has the effect that it can't be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. If this card is destroyed, you can special summon a yubel that is banished or in your hand, deck, or grave. You can only use each of the following effects of Spirit of Yubel once per turn, where when opponent's monster declares attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then if this card is special summoned, you can add to your hand or set a spell or trap in your deck that mentions yubel. So I just like this because you can summon, summon this, tribute it, summon Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel sets a spell or trap in your deck that mentions yubel, and then you can just go from there. Next, I play 2 copies of yubel. I want to play 3, but I haven't gotten the 3rd copy in the mail yet, so I figured I'd just go ahead and play 2. But yubel has the same effect as Spirit Yubel, where it can't be destroyed by battle. You take no battle damage from attacks involving it. However, when an opponent's monster attacks it, then they take damage equal to their monster's attack. And then, I can't remember how it's worded specifically, once per turn during your end phase, you can tribute 1 other monster or destroy this card. And when this card is destroyed except by its own effect, its owner can special summon 1 yubel Terra Incarnate from their hand, deck, or graveyard. Speaking of which, I also play 1 copy of yubel Terra Incarnate. Terra Incarnate does the same thing as normal yubel, except instead of having the tribute a monster, or tribute 1 other monster except for yubel, or destroy it, Terra Incarnate has the effect of, during the end phase, then it's a dark hole that destroys every other monster in play. And then if it dies, it floats into Yubel the Ultimate Nightmare, which I play 1 of. And then Yubel the Ultimate Nightmare has the effect that when it battles an opponent's monster, you can banish that, or your opponent takes damage equal to that monster's attack, and I believe you banish that monster. Let's see. At the end of the damage step, this card, this face-up attack position card battled an opponent's monster, inflict damage to that monster's attack, and also destroy that monster. Okay, so it doesn't banish, it destroys. But the first 2, the main thing is that yubel and Terra Incarnate they can attack, they just won't deal any damage, whereas Ultimate Nightmare can attack, just deal damage, and destroy the opposing monster. For the hand traps, I play 2 copies of Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. This is just a really good card right now because it's actually a good answer to Snake Eye, as if a card would move another card from the graveyard, Ghost Bell can say no. Then I play 3 copies of Ghost Mortar and Moonlit Chill. I honestly don't know if I would prefer this or Effect Veiler more, but this just makes it so that when your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, as I believe it has to be special summoned from the extra deck. See, if your opponent special summons a monster You can discard this card, target one of those face-up monsters, and get its effects until the end of this turn. Also, if that face-up monster leaves the field, this turn its controller takes damage equal to its original attack. And you can only use each effect of Ghost Mourner Moonlit Chill once per turn. So I will admit, I was wrong about its effect, as it can target any special summon monster. However, it has to be to the summoning of the monster. Then I play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Ash Blossom just says no to anything that would move a card from the deck. And the main thing that people did not like about me with this deck is I play 3 copies of Dimension Shifter. Hold on. Dimension Shifter just has the effect that if you have no cards in your graveyard, you can discard this card, and if you do, until the end of the next turn, or until the end phase of the next turn, any card that would be sent to the graveyard is removed from play instead. This hurts Fire King. This hurts Snake Eye. This doesn't really hurt one person. At my locals I go to, this doesn't hurt one person, and that's because he's playing Tri Brigade, and he's also playing this, which is kind of funny. And I haven't been able to test it out, but I think Dimension Shifter also hurts Voiceless Voice, which I agree with a lot of other people that Voiceless Voice should actually be Silent Force. Anyway, then that's it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, I play 1 copy of 1-for-1. This just lets you discard a monster to special summon a level 1 monster from your hand or deck. In this case, it'd be Samsara the Lotus. Then I play 2 copies of Nightmare Pain. Nightmare Pain has the effect that once per turn, during your main phase, you destroy a dark monster that's in your hand or face-up field, and if you do, add 1 yubel or a card that mentions it from your deck to your hand, except for another Nightmare Pain. And then, let's see, you can only use that effect in Nightmare Pain once per turn. And while you control yubel monster, your opponent's monsters that can attack must attack yubel monsters. Your opponent takes any battle damage you would take from battles involving those yubel monsters. That last part I really love because it makes the way this card works is if you have normal yubel in play and your opponent has a blue eyes, that's theoretical, mind you. The blue eyes must attack yubel, and because they attack yubel, they'll take 3,000 effect damage from the yubel. However, thanks to Nightmare Pain, the way I don't know how it's supposed to work, but I do know that Nightmare Pain will make you so your opponent takes an additional 3,000 damage since you would have taken 3,000. I don't know how that works since yubel even states that you take no battle damage, but that's how it works, so I'm not going to argue. And I also play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. This just lets you, if your opponent has activated a monster effect during your main phase, you can activate this card to either draw 2 cards, look at your opponent's hand and put a card back, or take control of an opponent's monster till the end of the turn. Then I also play 2 copies of Opening of the Spirit Gates. This card, when activated, you add a card from your deck to your hand. You add a monster that mentions the Sacred Beast from your deck to your hand, which means if you're in a situation where you open this and both of your Dark Beckoning Beasts, then you can't even activate it. But the main thing you want opening your Spirit Gates for is that you can discard a card, target, or you don't target. I don't know why my brain's not wanting to work. You discard a card and then summon a Dark Fiend that has 0 attack and defense from your graveyard, such as yubel. And then its last effect, which you don't really use much, as the only target is either Opening the Spirit Gates or Nightmare Pain, is if you control a level 10 monster, you can target a continuous spell in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Next, I play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity lets you banish up to 6 cards from your extra deck, to then excavate cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of cards you banished, and then add 1 to your hand, put the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. And for the rest of the turn, any damage your opponent takes is halved, which I believe that's how that works. Yeah, any damage your opponent takes is halved, and you cannot draw for the rest of the turn. And next is everyone's favorite spell card, especially in the yubel deck, is Super Polymerization. This just lets you discard a card, fusion summon a fusion monster using monsters from either side of the field. And moving on to the traps, I play 3 copies of Eternal Favorite. I don't understand why people are only playing 2 or 1 or 2 of these when it's really good. But Eternal Favorite, I always forget the first part. Once per turn you activate one of the effects, but you can only use each effect of Eternal Favorite once per turn. So if you have 2 of these, you can activate them both, but you can only use one of the 2 effects per copy. Or that's the way I'm reading it. That has the effect that you can special summon one of your yubel monsters that's banished from your graveyard. Neither player can activate cards or effects when that monster is summoned. So, if I remember correctly, you want that to be chain 1, I believe, in relation to something like Spirit of Yubel. I don't remember. But the other effect is the good one, as if you control Yubel, then you can fusion summon using monsters from either side of the field. And I believe you have to use a Yubel monster. See... Yeah. Lets you fuse these from either side of the field, including a yubel monster, so there's basically another copy of Super Polymerization while you control yubel. And then to finish off the traps, I play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. This just lets you target one effect monster your opponent controls, negates effects, and then you can activate from your hand if you have no cards, or if it was set, then you just... Any spell or traps that are activated in its column are negated, including your own, so be careful. And that is it for the main deck. The main deck is a 42 card list. One thing I did think about doing was take out 1-for-1 for Rivalry of the Warlords, just because, why not? Lock yourself into Fiend, and you can still board wipe. However, because it is a one of, I figured 1-for-1 would be better. Anyway, moving on to the extra deck. Most of the extra deck is Super Polymerization targets, so that's part of why I'm playing Pod Prosperity. Another thing you can do, though, is instead of playing all the Super Poly targets you can play rank 10s, which I'm actually considering 5, being 2 Gustav Max, 2 Super Dreadnought Juggernaut LeBay, and a copy of Sky Palace Gangaria Day. 1 just so you can push for OTKs, and the Juggernauts are so you can push for OTKs. The other 3 are so that you can just burn. As Sky Palace destroys a card and inflicts 1,000 damage, and then the Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Maxes just deal 2,000 damage. But anyway, I play 1 copy of IEP Masquerena. This lets you link summon during the main phase as a quick effect, and then a link monster that's link summoned using this card can't be destroyed by card effects. Then I play 1 copy of Muckraker. Muckraker from the Underworld just lets you discard a card, summon a fiend from your grave. However, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for fiends. And if another fiend card on your field will be destroyed, then you can destroy or send 1 monster? I forgot how the protection effect works. Let's see. If a monster or monsters you control be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can tribute 1 fiend monster instead. Okay. But one thing is, if Muckraker is trying to be destroyed, then you can't just tribute Muckraker, so that's not... You have to tribute another thing. That's the only downside. Then I play 1 copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight has the effect that if it's link summon using a monster summoned from the extra deck, you can banish 1 card your opponent controls just banish it. And then when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can activate this card's effect, target 2 effect monsters on the field, banish them until the end phase. Then I play 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix just to deal with back row. As when it's link summoned, you discard a card, target a card, and if it was co-linked when summoned, you get to draw a card. 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn. Same thing as Phoenix, only instead of targeting a spell or trap, you target a card to shuffle back into the deck. And that's it for the links. For fusions, I play 1 copy of Mud Dragon of the Swamp. This monster just makes so that monsters with the same attribute as this card cannot be targeted, and then as the quick effect of being able to change its attribute, which most of the time you'll be calling dark. Or depending on the deck, you might call whatever attribute your opponent's using. Like I want to say if you're playing against Voiceless Voice, then you'll want to call light. I don't know why, though, as I want to play against Voiceless Voice once and I don't remember what they do. Then I play one copy of Sea Monster Theseus, just because if your opponent gets 2 tuners, you can fuse them away. Taking out. Then I also play 2 copies of Garura. Garura in this deck is... Garura in this deck. Garura just requires 2 monsters that have the same type and attribute, but different... What was it? Okay, 2 monsters with the same type and attribute, but different names. Okay, that's what it was. So, like, Spirit of Yubel and Yubel, for example, work. But any battle damage this card inflicts is doubled, and if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to draw a card. And I'm only playing 2 of it because if I'm playing against someone who's playing something like Dogmatic Maximus, I'll want to send 2 of these. And then I also play 1 copy of Starving Venom, just acquiring 2 dark monsters. This is another one I'm thinking about taking out, which is Mysterian the Dragon Crown, as it just requires a dragon and a spellcaster, so it's good against Branded. This is the reason it's in here. Then I also play 1 copy of Dragon Knight Draco Acquist. This is another one I'm considering taking out because I don't see a lot of decks playing Dragon Synchros and Warriors. The only one I can think of that would be Voiceless Voice, but with Yubel rising in popularity, I feel like they probably won't be playing any Dragon Synchros, just because then they can... If they get a Dragon Synchro and Skull Guardian, then those can be super polyed away for this. And then lastly, for the extra deck, I play 3 copies of Yubel, the Loving Defender Forever. This monster just requires Yubel plus 1 or more, what was it, monsters on the field or effect monsters on field. But when it's fusion summoned, it inflicts 500? It inflicts 500 damage for each of its materials. And then it can't be destroyed, or you can only use you can only use that effect of Yubel, Loving Defender Forever once per turn. It can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. Also, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. At the end of the damage step, this card battle an opponent's monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack, and if you do, banish that monster. So as you can tell, Yubel, Loving Defender Forever is just a better ultimate nightmare, but it also board wipes your opponent. But that is it for my Yubel deck profile. If you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, besides playing the Unchained variant, as I still need, what was it? Unchained, Lord, Soul Samsara, whichever the link is. The blue link, and I think it was Escape of the Unchained. But like I said, there's only 3 cards I need. Once I have those, then I'll make a Unchained Yubel deck profile. But in the meantime, though, if you have any ideas what you can do to improve the deck, any ideas decks like to see face each other, or decks like to see built in the future, feel free to comment down below, and thank you for watching.